talking to you about two of my favorite things, music and mnemonics. Most of you probably have a pretty good conception of what music is, but you might be wondering, what are mnemonics? Very simply put, they are tricks that help you remember things. So a musical mnemonic would be putting information into a song. You all probably know at least one. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want y'all to think about something. How many poems you know and could recite by memory right now? By a show of fingers or hand, how many of you could recite at least 5 poems? All right, nice, got a couple in the back. How many of you could recite at least 3 poems? All right, 1 poem? All right, now think about how many songs you could sing by memory right now. By a show of hands, how many of you could sing at least 5 songs? You know at least, yeah, okay. 10 songs? 20 songs? All right, obviously you remember a lot more songs than you remember just spoken words, and a song without music is a poem. Why is this? It's because music has this magical way of helping our brains retain information. Let's talk about the literature. Current research has looked into specifically musical mnemonics, and the results have been a little bit varied. There are a lot of tests and research that have shown that music has a really great effect on memory. In 2004, researchers researched patients with MS, and those patients demonstrated better recall of information presented musically compared to verbally in regards to both word memory and word order. EEGs also showed stronger bilateral frontal alpha learning-related synchronization. In other words, music enhances deep encoding and helps the neurons fire in a synchronized way that help you remember things. In 1996, patients demonstrated significantly better recall of lyrics that were sung when compared to lyrics spoken. Now, these researchers speculated that this is due to the parallel between language structures and rhythmic structure. Clausen and Thaut presented to students multiplication tables with just spoken rehearsal and then sung rehearsal. Those students did so much better with the sung rehearsal compared to the verbal rehearsal. Now the mixed results. In 1987, 5 and 6-year-olds were presented with a passage, and that passage was either read or sung or inappropriately sung. And what I mean by that is that the words, the information, were not paired with the musical structure in a proper way. So the musical phrasing did not match the verbal phrasing. Now these kids demonstrated equal recall to both the sung and recited presentation. However, significantly worse recall when paired incorrectly to music. Further research in 2023 revealed that only rhythm rehearsal significantly improved recall. And in fact, when combining rhythm and pitch, this combination had negative effects of recall in elderly patients. So, why are there these differences in recall? I believe that it's because these mnemonics aren't necessarily created correctly, following best practices. It's important to remember that the people conducting these research are brilliant psychologists first, oftentimes not musicians. So when I started delving deeper into these studies done when the mnemonics weren't successful, I found that often they weren't necessarily made correctly. So when you're composing a musical mnemonic, when you are putting information to a song, you can pick a song that you already know and then put words to it, replace the lyrics you already know with whatever it is you want to memorize. The simpler, the better. Part of the reason that the Dykman study resulted the way it did with the elderly patients having a difficulty was that the combination of music and pitch was really, really complicated. So there was a whole lot of extra mental work that went into actually learning it in the first place. So think simple. Secondly, involve the emotions. This is a foundational principle for all types of mnemonics. You want to have this guttural, reaction, an emotional reaction of whatever it is you're trying to memorize. Now, research did show that positively balanced music, so happy music, had better recall results than negatively balanced music, sad music. However, both of these types of emotional music performed better than spoken. As I mentioned before, musical structure is really, really important. This was demonstrated with that inappropriate pairing we talked about earlier. You can actually do damage if you're not putting this information correctly following that musical structure. So when you speak with inflections, with accents. Your voice rises and falls. And you want to find music that melodically follows these things as well, that your musical accents match the verbal accents of your speech. Rhythm. Like language, rhythm automatically chunks information, which is a really important tool to use when memorizing things. I don't know how many of y'all here still memorize phone numbers, but when you did memorize phone numbers, you chunk them. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. That's a rhythm. You want your rhythms to automatically chunk this information for you. And music does this. So again, it comes back to that intentionality piece, finding rhythm that works with the information that you are trying to learn. Finally, learn the song, not the lyrics. The Gingold and Naval study I mentioned previously, they told the kids to memorize the words, not the song. And so younger kids actually did really well with the sung condition because they weren't able to fully follow those instructions and think, I'm just memorizing the words. And so they just learned the song, and then they performed better. However, older children learn these words. And so when the song played, they were trying to tune out the song and focus only on the words, which is why they then performed worse. Okay, before we go to the next slide, I want to share with you what, in my opinion, is the absolute best example of musical mnemonics done well. For those of you in the audience who are over the age of 30, you will probably immediately recognize what is about to be on the screen. For those of you who are under 30, go home, ask your parents about Schoolhouse Rock, and I guarantee you they can sing you the songs, because if they were like me and they were raised in the United States, you heard these songs in elementary school, middle school, and sometimes even high school, but it was so, so valuable.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Conjunction, junction, how's that function?
I got 3 favorite cards that get most of my job done.
Conjunction, junction, what's their function?
I got and, but, and or, they'll get you pretty far.
All right, the musician students we have in the audience, there is a huge hole missing in the market because we don't have something like this happening now. So consider the next Schoolhouse Rock. And then come back and tell me about it, because Schoolhouse Rock changed lives. All right, can't talk about music and memory without talking about autobiographical memory. Martin Pogakar heard a song that was composed in a fascist country in 1941 and recorded. When this song came back when he was an older adult, he was flooded with multi-sensory, vivid memories of hearing this as a younger child, which then led him to do a lot of research on the autobiographical piece. He concluded that songs are audible documents of the past. They bring back memories, and what's interesting and fascinating and exciting about this is the fact that communities collectively that experience music together, they've frozen that piece of time in that song, and they can revisit and travel in time back to that moment when they hear it. I really, really wanted to find a way to give y'all one of these moments here, but these songs are personal. So later tonight, when you go home, think of a song from your childhood. If you're older, go back and think of a song from your late teens to early 20s, because these are the ones that typically carry the most memo history. Go back, play that song, close your eyes, and let the memories flow. I'll leave you with this quote. Recorded music has the capacity to condense the past and to potentiate the effective mnemonic imagination of the past, regardless of its mediated form. Thank you. Any questions?